Hey, welcome back to World Entertainment, and hot on the heels of all the crazy rumours we've had, this one actually dropped last week, and I actually overlooked it a bit, and now I'm coming back to it. It was one of those you see it, and you kind of ignore it for a minute, and then you end up forgetting, until you kind of go, oh, wait a minute. It's about World War Hulk, or possibly Hulk movies, more than one. But there's also a possibility of 4, 5 being in this mix as well. Yes, you heard that right. 4, 5. After the disaster that is, what the hell's the last one called? Love and Thunder. Couldn't even remember. It was that bleeding forgettable. Of course, Chris Hemsworth, as we know, said it's going to take a massive change to get that movie right and to even convince him to come back. But what is the rumor? Well, it's about a possible director for either World War Hulk or Hulks, or for number 5. So that guy that they're rumoured to be in conversations with is George Miller. And if you're thinking, I recognise the name, but I can't place who that is the Mad Max director. Yes, Mad Max. And the funny thing about this article is, they don't mention Mad Max, him as a director for that, but they do mention Fury Road and Furiosa. It's almost like they didn't realise he made the whole Mad Max saga. But let's look at this, because it's interesting. The one thing it doesn't touch on at all is the fact that this is meant to be from Marvel, and yet Universal own the Hulk. So let's have a look at this. So it says, we've been waiting a very long time for a new Hulk movie. While the Avengers franchise, Thor Ragnarok, and She-Hulk, Attorney at Law have all helped to fill the void, Bruce Banner hasn't taken center stage since 2008's The Incredible Hulk, because Marvel don't own it. Recently, there have been rumblings about a World War Hulk project being in the works, something backed up by recent Production Weekly listings suggesting it could begin shooting as soon as this year. I strongly doubt that, because if that's the case, we would have heard that there was writers attached and they would have announced it, because they're announcing everything bloody else. So World of Real did some digging and claims to have learned that the project is in active development. In fact, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige is said to have already reached out to numerous directors, including Mad Max Fury Road and Furiosa helmer George Miller. Yes, we could get a Miller directed World War Hulk/Hulks movie. Interestingly, the report notes that Miller has expressed interest in helming 4/5 after working with Chris Hemsworth on Furiosa. The actor was reportedly responsible for setting up the meeting between the filmmaker and Feige. Miller has flirted with the idea of directing a superhero movie, of course, as he was behind the camera for Justice League Mortal, a movie that fell apart before production began. I love the way they say that. He was, of course, behind the camera for that movie that never actually went into production, so he was never behind the camera for that movie then, was he? Anyway, he's also defended the genre by saying, I watch all of them. To be honest, in terms of this debate, cinema is cinema, and it's a very broad church. The test, ultimately, is what it means to the audience. Miller later criticized Martin Scorsese's hubris for deciding what is and isn't cinema by noting, it's such a broad spectrum, a wide range, and to say that anyone is more significant or more important than the other is missing the point. It's one big mosaic, and each bit of work fits into it. Doing the rounds to promote Furiosa last year, the Mad Max franchise creator was asked outright if he'd helm Hemsworth in a possible 4/5. And he said this to that: I would work with Chris on anything. I really would. He's a wonderful actor. He's got the full range of all the skills. I mean, you've got to be athletic physically, but you also got to be athletic emotionally and intellectually to take on these very ultimately fairly complex any role, really. So then it says, we'll see what happens, but it sounds like World War Hulk. They keep saying World War Hulks, even though it's World War Hulk. but could be with us quite a bit sooner than expected. The leader and Red Hulk's roles in Captain America Brave New World must be leading to something, and providing that it's a hit, the epic event may well be up next. So they're thinking, because the leader is going to be in Captain America Brave New World and the Red Hulk, that it's leading to something bigger, like a World War Hulk. Even though I'm pretty sure the leader was only added in during the reshoots, when they were reshooting the entire movie, as was Giancarlo Esposito. He was only added in after the reshoots were taking place. Red Hulk, I think it might have... No, I think it was halfway through the movie they decided to introduce that, didn't they? And then they had to do the reshoots. But either way, I don't think that is leading to a World War Hulk. And I definitely don't think that this thing would be filming this year. Again, because we would have heard about it, we would have been told that there's writers attached to it, producers, and possibly, at this stage, directors. And of course, cast. And we've heard nothing. There's been absolutely... This is the first thing we've heard. Now, there was the rumbling a while ago that they were thinking of doing the World War Hulk movie. But of course, everybody was looking at it going, well, how can you? Because Universal own it. Now, of course, they could be setting up the same type of deal with Universal that they're doing with Sony, where it's basically they rent the character to Disney that they can use. Like, they can use him in specific things. If it's a part of an ensemble cast and stuff, like the Avengers and stuff, they can use him. But a standalone is where they can't use him. Unless, again, they go this route and just make a deal with Universal to say, look, we'll give you the same type of deal that we have with Sony to use Spider-Man. What do you say? Where Universal, if they are smart, they'd go, sure, except we want a bit of a better cut than what you give Sony, which would hurt Marvel, to be honest with you. But at the same time, why wouldn't you try it, you know? So that is how they could do it. Now, in terms of George Miller directing it, do I think that will actually happen? To be honest, no, I don't. To start with, the guy is going to be 80 years of age this March. That's right, 80 years of age. Now, he's still got a lot of life in him, you know. He doesn't look or act his age. And by act, I mean, like, he's able to walk around. He seems fairly fit and healthy, so fair play to him. But he is 80, and that will be a big kind of, you know, will he be able to do the work? He's also notorious for going way over budget on his movies. Like, again, we always bring it up, but you have to, when he was doing Fury Road, that it got so bad with how much he was going over budget and time wasting, basically, that Warner Brothers sent an executive in to sit there, find out what the hell he's doing that it's going so over budget, and if he goes over budget one more time, regardless of how much the film is done, pull the plug. They were just like, we're not pumping more money into this. Marvel Studios already has an issue with having to pump so much money into their projects, thanks mainly because they're filming it with basically no scripts, then going, well, that actually doesn't work, and then has to go back and reshoot it, and they constantly do reshoot. And these budgets have absolutely ballooned, and it's ridiculous. You don't exactly want to give a massive budget to a guy like George Miller, and he still manages to take it way over budget. I think it's too much of a risk. I think having him also direct it, possibly too much of a risk. I don't think the guy has ever directed something that wasn't R-rated as well. That's not to say he can't. It's just he might be more inclined to try and push them to allow him to do it as a R-rated movie, which could work. You know, everybody would go, hell yeah, give us that. And of course, the other big question then is, are we going to get Mark Ruffalo back as the Hulk? Because at this stage and after the whole election crap, I think people are done with him. It'll be interesting to see what happens. It's definitely not happening this year. Like, it's not filming this year, so I don't even know where they're getting that part. But let's see if this thing actually comes to function. They're saying, depending on whether or not Captain America's a hit, well then, it's definitely not happening. But we'll wait and see. So, with that, I will leave it there for this one. Let us know in the comments what you think of a George Miller directed either World War Hulk movies or Thor 5. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.